Hey everyone, welcome back to Remarks with Republicans. Today I'm sitting down with Bryan, who is running for Illinois State Comptroller. Bryan brings a unique story and a real passion for public service. We're talking about what shaped him, what motivates him, and why he's stepping up to run. You won't want to miss this one, so let's dive on in.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3,
Yeah. Whoa, hey.
Remarks with Republicans is starting right now. For viewers meeting you for the first time, who is Bryan and what led you into public service?
Bryan Drew is from deep southern Illinois. I've been an attorney for about 25 years. I have my wife, Kristen, and I have 4 kids. My oldest daughter's 21, my next daughter's 17, and then I have a 13-year-old son and a 12-year-old daughter. And what got me into politics was really caring about people, trying to represent people who, the Constitution, they have rights and we need to protect those. And I think that's where I got started out. And then COVID hit and a lot of things started happening where the government and particularly our governor was ignoring the Constitution. And when I saw politicians do that, I started getting involved in that side of it on top of the legal side.
At what moment did you decide that running for state comptroller was the right step for you?
Well, when I saw a lot of my neighbors and friends struggling under the crushing amount of taxes that we have here in Illinois. And then when I saw that we gave $1 billion to NGOs, these non-governmental entities that are spending our money, I decided that the only way anything's going to change in Illinois is you got to get involved. You can't just sit around and complain. If you're going to do something, you got to go out and be a part of the solution. And so for me, I want to be a part of the solution. I want to go out here and I want to be a watchdog for the taxpayers' money, to kind of keep an eye on it and say, hey, you don't just get to spend and spend and spend. You have to do it responsibly and in a way that makes sense and stop wasting the hard-earned money of people of the state.
How has your personal or professional experience prepared you for overseeing Illinois' finances?
Well, where I'm from in the southern part of the state, I have a law practice in a small town. So in that small town, you have people who don't have a lot of money. So like some attorneys practice with big firms and they just throw money at problems. Lots of money, lots of people. But in my area, I've learned that you have to be very cautious with people's money and there's not an unlimited amount. So you have to pick and choose how to use it wisely and importantly to get the maximum benefit and to help people the most. And I really think over 25 years of doing that, it's really put me in a position to not only respect people's money, but to really understand how to use it responsibly. And then in addition to that, I've come across a lot of criminals over 25 years, so I think I can handle what's going on in Springfield and put a stop to all the waste of our money as well.
Many people don't fully understand what the comptroller does. How would you explain the role in plain everyday language?
Plain everyday language. The comptroller is the checkbook of the state of Illinois. So that's basically what happens. So the most recent budget was $55 billion. The checks that are written out that total $55 billion, nearly every single one of them will go through the comptroller's office. So you know where all the money's going, you know where the waste is at, you know if there's any fraud, and I have some inspector general capabilities to any contracts with the state of Illinois that someone is acting fraudulently, I can get involved in that and put a stop to it.
Why is this office so important for taxpayers, especially in a state like Illinois with complex financial history?
So the reason it's so important in Illinois is that our budget's gone from $37 billion to $55 billion in the last 7 years. About $6-7 billion worth of additional taxes and fees. So what's happened is the only answer out of Springfield is more taxes, more money from us. And it's so important because I don't think we can ever reverse that course or that trend of just taking more money from hardworking people if we don't start eliminating the fraud, stopping the waste. And that's why I think it's so vital in Illinois, the role of comptroller. It's not the one everybody thinks about. And when I was your age, I didn't think to myself, someday I'll be the comptroller of the state of Illinois. But going through the last few years, I think I've seen a situation where I've realized just how important that position is. If it's used properly and transparent and you let everyone know where the money's going, I think we can put an end to all the waste and the fraud and really help out the people of Illinois.
What do you believe the current comptroller's office is doing wrong or not doing well enough?
Well, the current comptroller, Susana Mendoza, is not running for re-election. So she's not running, so it's actually an open seat. And so the great thing about that is statistically, they say that that's probably the best chance to win one when you're in the other party, being a Republican running against Democrat-held every single statewide seat in office. So actually the comptroller's office is the one that we have the best chance of winning. Now, I think when you go to the website, it's a little difficult to figure out where the money's going. And I think we can make that a lot more transparent and a lot more easy for everyday people to go on and say, where's my money going? So I think we can do that a lot better. I think we can keep an eye and expose some of the people who are really just political insiders who are getting taxpayer dollars. And I think we can really shine a light on that and do a little better job of that.
If elected, what are your top 3 physical priorities for the state of Illinois?
Well, first and foremost, to put an end to all fraud, to expose any of the waste that's going on, and to, frankly, with the comptroller's office, I would like to reduce the budget and the size of the comptroller's office. You know, and you look at it, the comptroller and the treasurer are in many states, the comptroller is not even a separately elected position. They've actually combined them. And what happens in Illinois is by separating them, you create that much more expense, that much more overhead, and it's taxpayer dollars, and it's just not the proper way to do it. So I would cut the comptroller's office drastically. I would even probably move to, if I won, I'd probably say, hey, let's lose my own job. Let's combine this with the treasurer's office, and let's save the taxpayers a lot of money and still do a really highly efficient, excellent job for the taxpayers, but do it in a more fiscally responsible way.
Illinois has long struggled with debt and late bill payments. What's your plan to address that?
Well, first and foremost, the bills have to get paid. And they have to get paid on time. And what you have to have is implement a system, and particularly on the side of the computer software system that we have. Much of the state of Illinois is working under archaic old software programs. In fact, in certain agencies, they're 50 years plus old. The people who work on them are getting so old they can't continue to work on them. So we really have to upgrade that. And I think if we upgrade that and bring us into the modern day, I think we can make sure that these are streamlined and there's not as many people and as many hands that need to touch all of this. So we can streamline it, get the payments out, get them out on time, particularly people who really need them. You know, the hardworking people here, farmers, you know, businesses that contract with the state who hire thousands of people and they're not getting their check for months on end. Those are the ones you have to prioritize. And one of the things I'll do is absolutely prioritize hardworking people getting their checks first.
What does true fiscal transparency look like to you, and how will you implement it?
True fiscal transparency is just that. You have to show everything. You don't get to hide things you don't like or that maybe don't look good or, well, people may not like this. You just have to show it all because this is the taxpayers' money and they're entitled to know everything. Not a little bit or not as much as you want to tell them, all of it. And so what I think that looks like is a website that you go on and you say, where's my money going? And you say, well, here's an NGO and this is $4 million they're getting. Here's $2 million here. And just go one after the other after the other. Here's some people who are political insiders and they're getting money to do things that really don't benefit anyone in Illinois. And maybe we should think about putting an end to that. Yeah. So I really think that transparency starts with a website that is very easy, very simple to view and to know where the money's going.
How can everyday taxpayers see a direct benefit from stronger financial management in Springfield?
You know, strong financial management really comes from looking at every agency in the state and going through and seeing where the money's being wasted. Because I think what we've had in Illinois for decades now is a situation where they say, if you don't spend it, you lose it. Use it or lose it. Yeah. So, you know, if you had an agency at the end of the year and they have $1 million left, well, they blow it. They just spend it on whatever they can spend it on because they know if they give it back to the state of Illinois, the next year they won't get it. And I think that's the most horrible mentality you can have. It's wasteful and it's not right. And we have to put an end to that and turn it into save it and keep it. And I think that's the best thing we need to do.
Where do you believe state spending is inefficient and what reforms would you champion?
Well, as far as being inefficient, it's Illinois. And it's government. So let's be honest, they're inefficient just about everywhere.
Yeah.
But when you go through and you look at like education, have we been hiring more teachers over the last 10 or 20 years as we've spent billions and billions more? No, we haven't. But what we've hired are administrators, office staff, people in Springfield to supervise. Same thing with DCFS. We have a lot of people being hired to supervise people who are working, and yet we have DCFS workers handling 100 cases at a time. And that's something that has to stop. It's wasteful and it's mismanagement. Look at the Chicago CTA system, their transit. They mismanaged it so bad that they were $250 million in the hole. And the legislature just gave them $1 billion of everyone else's money. The collar counties, Southern Illinois, Central Illinois, all of it. Gave them our money to make up for mismanagement. And we have to go in unit of government by unit of government and figure out the waste and the fraud and the mismanagement and put a stop to it.
What conservative principles guide your approach to budgeting and financial oversight?
Well, I think you have to view this office as a responsibility, that you have a responsibility to the taxpayers because it's their money. And what we kind of call that in the legal profession would be like a fiduciary duty. You have an obligation to do what's best for them, not what's best for you. And I think too many times in politics, politicians and people who work in government do what's best for them. How can I make the most money? How can I get the biggest pension I can get, regardless of how much it hurts the taxpayers? So I think for me, that's a guiding principle for me to always remember that my obligation and my sole responsibility are to the people of this state who pay their hard-earned money in to make sure it's used wisely, efficiently, and without any fraud or waste. And, you know, and I'm a Christian, and I think that helps too. And I think the reason it does is because even if you disagree with that or you're not a Christian, you have to know that I believe that I'm going to be held responsible someday for what I do. And when I say that I will treat these people's money, the taxpayers of Illinois, responsibly and take an oath to abide by the Constitution and to do what's right, that I not only have that obligation to the taxpayers, but I believe that I'll have to answer for that one day. So for me, it's a situation where I really believe that doing what's right is a fundamental core of what makes you who you are, and that's what you have to do.
How do you balance being physically conservative while still ensuring essential services are funded?
You know, that is a really difficult thing because essential services cost money, and they are expensive. But I think the way you do it is have management set up that isn't bloated, that doesn't have far too many people working in it, doesn't have expenses that aren't necessary. And I think when you do that and you cut out all the things that aren't necessary, I mean, just think about it. We currently have a situation where like businesses get these grants. So what happens is, so a company or a school district even, or a city, now these are governmental entities, a city or a school district, they hire someone who is a grant writer, right? So they're paying them $75, $80, $100,000 to write a grant. Then we have this whole group of people up in Springfield who then get all these grants in and go through them. So now we're paying these people millions of dollars to then go through all the grants and then decide who gets the money. By the way, it's all the taxpayers' money. Why are we funneling taxpayer money up through Springfield and then doling it out in little tiny bits as we take a bunch of money away from it? That's the problem with government right now, is they take the money, they filter it through themselves and hand it out to all the people that work there, and then the taxpayers and the businesses out here are the last people to get the money. And that's the wrong way of doing it.
What's one financial reform that absolutely must happen in Springfield?
I think we have to have a balanced budget and we have to live within our means. So what has to happen is we have to say that we are not increasing the budget anymore. It's done. We've increased it by 40% in the last 8 years since J.B. Pritzker's been in office, and we have to put a stop to it and say no. It's time to live within their means. Stop putting everything on the backs of the taxpayers. It's going to have to change. First and foremost, absolute necessary thing that has to happen.
Why should young Republicans like myself care about the comptroller's race?
Well, right now, our pension system is upside down. It's not funded. On top of that, you have one of the largest budgets. We have the largest budget every year. Taxes are going up. So currently, someday, you're 13, you're not thinking about it. Someday, you might want to buy a house. Well, guess what? Your real estate taxes are through the roof right now. And so then you want to go get a loan for that. Well, then they'll look at your job. Well, Illinois is losing businesses left and right, which reduces the number of jobs because of the taxes that we have in Illinois and all the regulations. So now you're stuck going, I'm having a hard time getting a job, everything costs more because they're taxing gas, which costs me more on my groceries. My electric bill's gone up. My real estate taxes are the highest in the nation. And now they're taxing my paycheck I get every week too. So I think for young kids like you have to really get involved and pay attention, because what they're doing today is gonna affect you when you go to get married or have a family or whatever you choose to do. It's gonna have a profound impact on you, and you should certainly get involved, because people are making decisions today in Springfield that are gonna affect you and your kids tomorrow.
What message you have for younger voters who feel disconnected from state politics?
You know, if you feel disconnected, I understand that, because I think a lot of people feel like Springfield doesn't listen. But a good example is the homeschool situation that went on.
Yeah.
There were 40,000+ people who wrote slips and sent these into Springfield and said, hey, we care about this issue. We want to do something. And everybody was so loud, and they went to the Capitol and they were there and got involved. And the legislation that they didn't want to happen did not happen. So I really think when you get involved and you're loud, things can change. So I really think what people have to understand is that you really can make a difference. But you won't make a difference if you don't do anything. So you have to get involved. So if you don't feel involved, or you don't feel like anyone cares, you have to make them care by getting involved.
What leadership qualities do you bring to the office that set you apart from your opponent?
Well, currently I have 5 potential opponents right now, so we don't know who my current opponent's going to be. But what leadership that I have that I think they don't have is most of them voted for the most recent budgets, and they've done it time and time again. And they're part of the party that is spending the money and deciding how the money's spent. And they've said, we like it. They voted for it. I am a different perspective. And so what I bring is the leadership quality of having a different perspective and being vocal enough and not beholden to anyone. I'm from deep Southern Illinois. Nobody in Springfield's got anything I want. The only reason I'm going to be there is to be that check and balance on government, to be how they spend our money, how the taxpayers' money's wasted, and I'm going to speak up, and I've always done it. One of the things is I'm not quiet. I've sued the governor, I've sued the Speaker of the House, the President of the Senate, when I thought they weren't abiding by the Constitution. So what you know about me is I'm not afraid of much. I'll get moving, and they won't slow me down in doing the right thing. So I think with that, you know, my faith, how I was raised in a small town, the values that I have, on top of, I've also represented colleges and municipalities, so I've handled the big things too. So I've handled cases from the smallest courthouse all the way up to the Illinois Supreme Court. So for me, I think I have that broad range of abilities where I have done everything from the big city down to the small town. And so in that, I think I bring a really great perspective to know how it affects everyone.
Can you share a time in your career where you had to make a tough financial decision and what you learned?
Well, when you have a business like I do, you have to make choices of where to spend your money and where not to spend your money. Do you want to expand and have more offices and more towns and more places, or do you increase the number of employees? And so for a while I attempted to do that so we could provide more services to more people, and we were really working hard at doing that. And then what happened is, in Illinois, the tax liabilities just became outrageous. I mean, between the real estate taxes on the building, your electric bill, I mean, I was getting $2,000 and $3,000 electric bills in my buildings, and it's so hard to do that what you have to do in Illinois is you have to cut back. And it's really the most depressing thing in Illinois currently is right now, under the regulations and the tax scheme, you're better off as a business being smaller in Illinois than being larger. And we have to flip that on its end. And so what I learned from that is it really makes a difference what happens in Springfield. And the way they tax us and how they spend our money, it has to be done better, because that will bring business in, which will bring jobs, which will bring more people, which will allow everyone to grow and everyone to do better.
What's something people misunderstood about you or your approach to public service?
Well, if anyone thinks that I'm doing this because I'm looking for a job, they're wrong. I certainly am not. I have an office. My wife has a cafe tea room across the street on our town square.
Yeah.
And I go over there and eat lunch with her. We have 4 kids. They still live at home. Even though my oldest is 21 in law school, she still lives at home. And so I love spending time with my family, my kids. I love doing things in our community and helping out the community. So it wasn't my goal or dream to get a job in Springfield and to go do that. So I think for me, I'm doing it because I think it's the right thing. Because it's really not about Democrat or Republican or if you're gay or straight or if you're a Christian or not a Christian. What matters here is it's just right and wrong. Because when Springfield wastes money, they don't waste Democrat money or Republican money. They waste everyone's money. And so for me, I'm going up there because I want to try to do what's right by everyone in this state and to get them back to where they should be, where they can prosper instead of barely getting by.
Balanced budget, realistic or political buzzword?
I think the way it's used in Springfield, they use it as a political buzzword. But yes, it is absolutely realistic. It's something that can be done, but it's going to take hard work, and it's going to take some effort by people who are not used to actually doing a job. I think a lot of politicians get in there, a lot of heads of departments get in there, and it's a figurehead. You know, they like to go to the dinners and the parties and wave and talk and do those things. We're going to have to get in and do the hard work, and the hard work will be digging into these budgets, digging into all the people that are going on, where the money's spent, and cutting the things that aren't necessary. And that's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of hard work. But I think it's absolutely doable.
Publish every state expenditure online, yes or no?
Yes.
Cut spending or grow revenue?
Well, here's the thing. When you say grow revenue, if you mean grow revenue by taxing the people who are here more, absolutely not. And usually when Springfield says we're going to increase revenue, they mean they're going to tax everyone more. Now, if you mean grow revenue by way of enticing business to come in, lowering taxes, lowering regulations, reducing real estate taxes so more people buy homes and more people move into the state, that is an acceptable way to grow revenue by growing business and helping the people. But you also have to be responsible with the money, and there's going to have to be some waste that's going on cut. That doesn't necessarily mean jobs. That means there's a lot of waste in buildings that aren't being used, office space that's not being used, and many, many ways that money is being spent that doesn't help anyone, and that has to be stopped.
Tax relief for families, priority or later?
Absolute priority. Everyone I know is struggling to get by. They're real, like we've talked about, real estate taxes, your taxes on your income, and then the tax on the gas results in your grocery bill being higher. And then there's taxes that go on, and your Ameren bill goes up, so your electric bill's even higher. And so now people are going along and they're having trouble just paying their bills, much less enjoying life or providing for their children or even saving for the futures. Priority.
Favorite Illinois small town?
Well, I mean, I live in Benton, Illinois. I mean, that's my hometown, so I'm going to have to say that's my favorite, or I won't be able to go back home.
Most overrated government expense?
Overrated government expense. I'd say currently the governor's salary.
Pizza, deep dish or thin crust?
Don't tell anyone in Chicago, but I'm kind of a thin crust guy. All right.
One word to describe Illinois' physical future under your leadership?
Responsible.
Thanks for speaking with me.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.